The alien delegation's tour continued through the Daedalus's lower decks. Commander Reyes noted how Thelev's 4 eyes darted nervously toward every exposed conduit and manual interface. The diplomatic team moved with uncanny synchronization, maintaining precise distances from each other that almost seemed choreographed. "And this is our emergency repair bay," Alina explained, leading them into a cavernous chamber filled with spare parts, tools, and mechanical components. "If any critical system fails during combat, our engineers can fabricate replacements within minutes." Ambassador Thelev's translator hesitated before converting his rapid, clicking speech. "You anticipate system failures during engagement. Your technology is unreliable." Chief Engineer Kamala Patel laughed, her hands blackened with engine grease. "No more unreliable than anything else in the universe, Ambassador. We just prepare for reality." "Reality," echoed Thelev, the word sounding strangely philosophical through the translator. "Your species has an unusual relationship with that concept." Alina noticed the military attaché, a being named HFY with segmented exoskeletal plates, discreetly scanning a rack of pressure suits with a wrist-mounted device. His compound eyes reflected the suits in fractured repetition. "Is something concerning you, Commander HFY?" Alina asked directly. The alien stiffened. "Your crew wears these during combat. Standard protocol. Allows us to continue operations even if hull integrity is compromised." The aliens exchanged glances laden with meaning Alina couldn't decipher. HFY's mandibles clicked rapidly beneath his translator. "You continue fighting after hull breach." "Of course," Lieutenant Weizong interjected, having joined the tour. "A little vacuum never stopped humanity before." The comment was meant as light humor, but the entire alien delegation froze momentarily, their bodies going rigid in what Alina was beginning to recognize as their fear response. "Perhaps we should proceed to the recreation facilities," Alina suggested, trying to ease the sudden tension. As they walked, Thelev fell in step beside her, speaking in lower tones. "Commander, your species achieved faster-than-light travel only recently, correct?" "Just 17 years ago," Alina confirmed. "We're newcomers to the galactic stage. Yet your warship designs show peculiar priorities. Most emerging species focus on shield advancement, energy conservation, automated systems. Your vessels emphasize redundant manual controls, physical armor plating alongside energy barriers, and crew survivability in catastrophic failure scenarios." Alina raised an eyebrow. "Is there something wrong with prioritizing crew survival?" "Not wrong," Thelev said carefully. "Unexpected. It suggests your species anticipates scenarios that the Harmony considers statistically improbable." The tour reached the mess hall, where off-duty crew shared meals and conversation. The aliens watched, fascinated, as humans ate together, laughed, argued, and displayed a chaotic range of behaviors and emotions. "Your crew lacks uniformity," observed HFY, seemingly disturbed. "Each member behaves differently, unpredictably." "That's humanity for you," Alina smiled. "Unity without uniformity. It's our greatest strength." Later, after escorting the delegation back to their shuttle, Alina found Y waiting in her office, his expression troubled. "Something's not right, Commander," he said without preamble. "I've analyzed their scan patterns during the tour. They weren't assessing our technological capabilities. They were profiling us psychologically. Every question, every reaction. They are trying to determine if we're a threat." Alina sank into her chair. "Are we?" "That's just it," Y replied. "I don't think they have categories for us. Their ships are marvels of engineering, but they all follow identical design philosophies, identical tactical approaches, no variation, no adaptation." He placed a tablet before her showing comparative scans. "They're terrified of us, Commander, but not because we're more advanced, because we're unpredictable in ways their culture has deliberately engineered out of themselves." Alina stared at the alien vessels on the screen, their perfect symmetry and identical configurations suddenly seeming less like advanced design and more like evolutionary stagnation. "Send a message to Earth Command," she said finally. "Tell them first contact is proceeding, but we may need to reassess our diplomatic approach. The Harmony seems peaceful, but they're hiding something. Something about us that frightens them far more than they're willing to admit." Alina reviewed the intercepted communications for the 5th time, searching for context she might have missed. The translated fragments painted a disturbing picture, but without complete messages, she couldn't determine if the Harmony considered humans a genuine threat or merely an anomaly. Any progress decrypting the rest? She asked Wei, who hunched over his terminal, dark circles under his eyes suggesting he hadn't slept. "Their encryption is elegant," he admitted. "Mathematical patterns that shift according to some cultural algorithm I can't quite grasp. But I've isolated something interesting." He pulled up a visual frequency analysis. "They're discussing human chips more frequently than human biology, culture, or technology. Something about our vessels specifically triggers their concern." A soft chime announced an incoming transmission from the Harmony diplomatic vessel. High Emissary Thiliv requested Alina's presence for what he termed clarification discussions. "Time to push for answers," she told Wei. "Keep working on those transmissions." The Harmony shuttle that collected her was a masterpiece of engineering, silent, perfectly balanced, with an interior that adjusted subtly to maintain optimal comfort. Yet Alina noticed the pilot kept glancing at her with an expression her translator rendered as distressed curiosity. "Is something troubling you?" she asked directly. The pilot, a slender being with luminescent skin patterns, visibly startled. "Forgiveness, Commander. I observe you are comfortable within a vessel not of your design. This is uncommon among our species. Humans adapt quickly," Alina replied. "It's essential for survival." "Adaptation versus optimization," the pilot murmured. "A philosophical divergence." Aboard the Harmony flagship, Alina found not just Thiliv waiting, but a council of representatives from all 7 member species. The chamber was arranged in perfect concentric circles, with precisely calculated spaces between each delegate, mathematical harmony made physical. Admiral Chorus rose from his position, his reptilian scales shifting color as he addressed her. "Commander Reyes, we appreciate your willingness to engage in further dialogue. Certain concerns have been raised regarding integration protocols." "Integration into what exactly?" Alina asked, noticing how several delegates flinched at her directness. "The galactic community follows established patterns," Thiliv explained smoothly. "New species typically spend several decades in observational status before full admittance to Harmony protocols." "Quarantine, you mean?" Alina challenged, remembering Wei's intercepted messages. "Half your council believes we should be contained." The chamber fell silent. Admiral Chorus's scales flushed deep crimson. "Your directness is noted," Thiliv finally responded. "There are historical precedents that cause concern. Your species' approach to vessel design, tactical doctrine, and crew protocols resemble patterns we have statistical reason to approach with caution." "What patterns?" Alina demanded. "What precedents?" A new delegate spoke, a being composed of what appeared to be crystalline structures that refracted light in hypnotic patterns. "Your ships are designed to sustain damage and continue functioning. Your crews are trained to operate despite system failures that our protocols would classify as defeat conditions. You incorporate ammunition-based weapons alongside energy projectors, and your tactical approaches include contingencies that our simulations classify as beyond rational threshold." Alina leaned forward. "With respect, those are all strengths, not weaknesses. From your evolutionary perspective, perhaps." Admiral Chorus interjected. "Commander, when your vessels approached our diplomatic ships during initial contact, did you notice how we maintained specific distances? I assumed it was standard formation protocol." "It was fear," said a previously silent delegate, its translator rendering the words with brutal simplicity. Your vessels approached with unpredictable acceleration patterns. You maintained active targeting systems throughout the encounter. Your power distribution fluctuated in ways our predictive algorithms could not anticipate. Elena felt a chill. You were afraid of standard approach protocols. We were afraid, Admiral Chorus admitted, of a species whose standard protocols include preparing for total systems failure, continued combat operations after sustaining critical damage, and tactical adaptability that our own evolutionary path deliberately engineered away millennia ago. The crystalline delicate surfaces pulsed with light. The question before this council is not whether humans represent a threat, Commander Reyes. It is whether the galaxy can survive the reintroduction of chaos. Elena watched the simulation replay again, focusing on the exact moment the Harmony vessels broke formation. The Daedalus had simply cut power, using momentum to glide silently toward the alien flagship's blind spot. A basic maneuver taught in first-year academy courses. It doesn't make sense, she muttered. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. They should have anticipated this. Wei shook his head, manipulating the holographic display to show the alien ship's power signatures. Look here, Commander. When we went dark, their energy allocation spiked chaotically, not in defense, but across all systems. It's almost like they panicked, Elena finished. Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. Wei pulled up comparison data from previous Harmony naval exercises. Their ships always maintain perfect energy distribution ratios during maneuvers. Every turn, every acceleration follows mathematical progressions. When two Harmony vessels engage, they follow predictable patterns, increasing weapon energy by exactly 12% each exchange, maintaining shield balance within precise parameters. Dr. Sana Kapoor joined them, carrying tablets filled with biological data. That tracks with what I'm finding about their neural structures. All 7 Harmony species show remarkably similar development, despite evolving on different worlds. Their brains process information through pattern recognition matrices first, then analytical assessment. Meaning, Elena prompted. Meaning they literally cannot process unpredictable threats efficiently, Sana explained. When faced with something that doesn't match established patterns, their cognitive functions experience the equivalent of a processing lag. What we experienced as their panic was actually their brains struggling to categorize our actions. Lieutenant Commander Jackson, tactical officer, whistled softly. So when we cut engines and drifted, their brains couldn't compute our intentions because the action didn't fit any established combat algorithm. That's their weakness, Elena realized. They fight according to predetermined patterns, mathematical exchanges of energy at set distances with predictable escalation. Wei pointed to his analysis. It's like they're playing chess with agreed-upon moves. Both sides know what the other will do, within parameters. Actual innovation in combat seems foreign to them. Elena remembered Admiral Chorus's words, tactical adaptability that our own evolutionary path deliberately engineered away millennia ago. They evolved toward predictability because unpredictability terrifies them. But why? The briefing room door slid open as Engineering Chief Patel arrived, her expression grim. You need to see this, Commander. She placed a damaged component on the table. We found it attached to our hull after the exercises. It's a resonance scanner, designed to analyze structural vibrations. They were scanning our hull composition during the exercise. Jackson asked. Not just composition, Patel corrected. Stress responses, microfracture patterns, material fatigue rates. They were assessing how our ships would break apart under fire. A heavy silence fell over the room. They're preparing for conflict, Elena concluded quietly. Or preparing to defend against us, Wei countered. Commander, think about it. A species that values predictability above all else suddenly encounters humans who consider adapting to chaos a virtue. From their perspective, we're introducing dangerous unpredictability into an ordered galaxy. Sana nodded. Their historical archives mentioned ancient destroyers who fought without patterns. What if that's not just history to them, but a cultural trauma? What if we remind them of something that nearly destroyed their civilization? Alina straightened. Then we need to understand exactly what happened in their past, and we need to convince them we're not repeating it. She turned to Wei. Contact the Harmony diplomatic vessel. Tell them Commander Reyes formally requests access to their complete historical archives regarding military evolution and the ancient destroyers. And if they refuse? Jackson asked. Alina's expression hardened. Then we'll know they're hiding something far worse than we've imagined. Wei and Sana navigated the crystalline corridors of the Harmony Central Archives, their footsteps echoing unnaturally in the perfect acoustics. Their escort, a slender being named Sith who served as chief archivist, led them through chambers organized with mathematical precision. The historical military records you requested are rarely accessed, Sith explained, voice melodic through the translator. Such knowledge is considered disharmonious. Sana exchanged glances with Wei. Disharmonious how, exactly? Conflict patterns from pre-Harmony eras contain chaotic elements that distort neural equilibrium, Sith replied matter-of-factly. Most citizens prefer not to expose themselves to such dissonance. They entered a vast chamber where data crystals glowed in carefully arranged patterns. Sith activated a terminal with a series of graceful gestures. You may access third-level historical data regarding military evolution here, the archivist explained. Higher clearance requires council authorization. Wei noted the limitation immediately. We were promised full access. This is what the council has authorized, Sith responded, the translator unable to fully mask the undertone of discomfort. I will return in 3 hours to escort you back. After Sith departed, Sana began scanning biological records while Wei examined tactical histories. The more they discovered, the more disturbing the picture became. Listen to this, Sana said quietly. Approximately 23,000 years ago, all 7 Harmony species underwent genetic engineering to enhance pattern recognition and decrease stress responses to predictable stimuli. They literally rewired their brains to find comfort in predictability and experience physical distress when confronted with chaos. Wade nodded grimly. That tracks with what I'm seeing in their military evolution. They abandoned physical projectile weapons because ballistic trajectories introduced too many variables. Impact damage created unpredictable fracture patterns. They switched exclusively to energy weapons because beam coherence is mathematically precise. Sana continued scanning. There are references to something called the discordant era that preceded this genetic restructuring, but those files are restricted. Wei's terminal suddenly flickered. Someone's watching our access patterns. He quickly shifted to a different file pathway. I'm going to try something. His fingers flew across the interface, implementing a search pattern that appeared random but actually followed a complex algorithm he'd designed. What are you doing? Sana whispered. Creating the digital equivalent of static, Wei explained. If their systems classify unpredictability as a threat, let's use that against them. His terminal briefly went dark, then reopened with significantly higher access permissions. Got it. Their security algorithms couldn't process my search pattern, and defaulted to higher access while attempting to analyze it. Sana looked impressed. Clever. What did you find? Wei's expression grew serious as he scanned the newly accessible files. Schematics for Harmony warships spanning 2 millennia. Every vessel follows identical design principles. Powerful shields, minimal physical armor, no redundant systems whatsoever. He rotated a 3-dimensional model. Look at this. Their crews are housed in central protected zones. If shield containment fails, they accept total vessel loss rather than risking crew to save the ship. They've optimized for perfect functioning in ideal conditions, Sana realized, not resilience in catastrophic scenarios. Wei nodded. And there's more. Their tactical protocols forbid combat continuation if ship efficiency drops below 87%. The concept of fighting to the last crew member doesn't exist in their doctrine. Sana's terminal chimed as her own search yielded results. "Wei, I've found something about the ancient destroyers, but it's heavily encrypted. Help me with this." As they worked to decrypt the file, a silent alarm triggered in the archive systems. In a secure chamber 7 levels above, Harmony security officers gathered, deeply disturbed by the humans' unpredictable search patterns distressingly similar to those last recorded 25,000 years ago, when the galaxy burned. The Daedalus cut through space at maximum burn, its engines pushing past safety parameters. On the bridge, Alina gripped her command chair as tactical displays showed the 3 Purity vessels methodically bombarding the Europa research station. Their attack pattern was eerily precise, equidistant orbits around the outpost, firing in synchronized sequences. "Status report," she demanded. "Europa station shields at 27%. Communications Officer Jimenez reported. 43 civilians and 12 research personnel inside. The Purity ships are maintaining exact firing intervals, 15-second synchronized volleys." "Predictable," Alina murmured. "Lieutenant Commander Jackson, plot an intercept that brings us between the station and those ships." Jackson hesitated. "Commander, that would place us within simultaneous firing range of all 3 vessels. Our shields can't. They aren't expecting us to do something that mathematically disadvantageous." Alina cut in. "That's exactly why we're doing it." The tactical officer nodded, understanding dawning. "Plotting intercept. Entering weapons range in 47 seconds. Alina opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, prepare for unconventional engagement. Damage control teams on standby. Engineering, reroute non-essential power to forward shields and weapons." As the Daedalus approached, the Purity vessels maintained their perfect formation, seemingly unconcerned by the single human warship. "They're not adjusting their pattern," Jackson observed with disbelief. "They're continuing bombardment on the station, as if we're not even a factor." "Because their tactical doctrine can't compute our approach as rational," Alina replied. "They're still processing our intent." The Daedalus surged into the space between the Purity ships and Europa station, its shields flaring as it absorbed fire meant for the outpost. "Target the lead vessel's propulsion systems," Alina ordered. "Fire rail batteries and energy lances simultaneously." The Daedalus unleashed its hybrid weapon systems. Physical projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds, tore through the Purity vessel's shields, designed to diffuse energy weapons but not kinetic impacts. Simultaneously, focused energy beams targeted the newly created hull breaches. On the tactical display, the Purity formation finally broke, the ships scrambling to establish new firing positions. "They're adapting," Jackson warned, recalculating attack vectors. A massive impact rocked the Daedalus. Emergency klaxons wailed as damage reports flooded in. "Direct hit to engine section," Engineering Chief Patul reported over the comm. "Coolant leak in primary drive. Containment fields failing. Engines operating at 38% capacity." Alina noticed the Purity vessels regrouping, their formation stabilizing as they assessed the Daedalus's damage. "They think we're finished," she realized. According to Harmony combat protocols, a ship with engine efficiency below 40% would withdraw or surrender. "Reroute remaining power to weapons," she ordered. "Maintain position between them and the station." "Commander," Patel protested, "without cooling, the engines will." "I know the risks, Chief. Carry out the order." As the Daedalus continued fighting despite critical damage, the Purity vessels' attack patterns became increasingly erratic. Their perfect synchronization dissolved as their tactical systems failed to predict the human ship's persistence. The lead Purity vessel broke formation first, accelerating away at maximum thrust. The others followed moments later, their retreat as mathematically precise as their attack had been, maintaining exact distances from each other as they fled. On Europa Station, the research team watched in awe as a single human vessel, venting plasma and coolant from multiple hull breaches, drove off 3 technologically superior ships. The station director's voice crackled over the comm. "Daedalus, how are you still operational? Your engine section is critically damaged." Elena allowed herself a grim smile. "That's the part the Purity doesn't understand, Director. Humans don't stop fighting just because the math says we should lose." Across Harmony space, footage of the battle spread rapidly through secure channels, showing something many believed impossible: a damaged vessel continuing to fight beyond rational thresholds. In chambers of power, the debate intensified. Were humans the heroic defenders they appeared to be, or the harbingers of a chaos the galaxy had spent millennia trying to forget? High Consul Silani's aquatic chamber was filled with a nutrient-rich solution that swirled with bioluminescent patterns. Belina and Admiral Chandra wore lightweight breathing apparatus as they sat submerged across from the massive cephalopod-like diplomat. The unusual setting, chosen by Xilani for its privacy from other Harmony officials, underscored the sensitivity of their conversation. "What I share risks my position within the Harmony," Silani's translator conveyed as colors rippled across her mantle. "But after the Europa incident, certain truths must be acknowledged." Admiral Chandra leaned forward, water resistance slowing his movement. "We appreciate your candor, High Consul." Silani's tentacles manipulated a series of crystalline data nodes. Three-dimensional projections materialized in the water around them, ancient vessels with sharp, angular designs utterly unlike the flowing symmetry of Harmony ships. "These are destroyer vessels," Silani explained. "The complete archives are restricted even to most council members, but my species were the primary record keepers of that era." Elena studied the projections. "They don't look particularly advanced." "They weren't," Silani confirmed. "The destroyer's technology was crude compared to the civilizations they encountered. Their weapons were primarily kinetic, physical projectiles, explosive munitions. Their ships used thick armor rather than sophisticated shields." "Like us," Elena observed quietly. "Yes." Silani's colors darkened. "This is why the Purity Directive gains support. The similarities are disturbing." Admiral Chandra gestured toward the projections. "What made these destroyers so dangerous if their technology was inferior?" Silani manipulated the data nodes again. The projections shifted to show battle sequences, ancient recordings of conflict. Elena watched with growing unease as primitive warships employed tactics jarringly similar to modern human naval doctrine. Vessels continuing to fight despite catastrophic damage, unpredictable maneuver patterns, sacrificing individual ships to gain tactical advantage. "The destroyers were physiologically adapted to crisis," Silani explained. "Their neural chemistry actually enhanced decision-making during combat. While our ancestors became disoriented by unpredictability, the destroyers thrived in it. They used chaos as a weapon." Elena felt a chill despite the warm water. "What happened to them?" Silani's colors pulsed with emotion the translator couldn't fully capture. "After nearly destroying all advanced life, they simply vanished. Some theorize they destroyed themselves in a final conflict. Others believe they evolved beyond physical form. The most troubling theory suggests they fragmented into isolated populations, continuing their evolution separately. And some in the Harmony believe we might be one such fragment." Admiral Chandra concluded. "Yes, the Purity Directive isn't merely xenophobic. They genuinely believe humans represent the return of our civilization's greatest trauma." The Europa footage strengthened their position considerably. "Your ship continued fighting after sustaining damage our protocols classify as defeat conditions." Elena frowned. "That's just common sense. We were protecting civilians." That reasoning, prioritizing others above mathematical self-preservation, was another destroyer trait, Silani noted. Their ethics balanced individual sacrifice against collective survival in ways our psychology cannot easily process. Admiral Chandra exchanged concerned glances with Elena. "What does the full council plan to do?" "They debate containment protocols," Silani admitted. The Purity Directive advocates for quarantine of human space until your species can be adjusted. Adjusted, Elena demanded. Initially reconfigured toward harmony norms. Silani clarified, her colors oscillating with discomfort, a process spanning generations. Admiral Chandra's expression hardened. That would never be accepted. I know. Silani's translator conveyed with unexpected gentleness, which is why the Purity believes conflict is inevitable. They've already begun constructing specialized weaponry designed specifically against human tactical patterns. How? Elena asked. They retrieved combat data from Europa. Your ship's unpredictability can be analyzed. Commander Reyes. Chaos, given enough samples, reveals its own patterns. As they processed this disturbing revelation, emergency signals pulsed through the water. Silani's colors flashed with alarm as she accessed the incoming data. The Purity fleet has moved, she announced. They've bypassed Harmony consensus protocols and launched an independent operation. Her colors darkened to almost black. They're on direct course for your homeworld. Chaos erupted across Earth's orbital defense grid as the Purity fleet materialized from hyperspace. 15 warships in perfect formation began their precisely calculated attack patterns, targeting military installations with synchronized energy weapon barrages. On the Daedalus, still bearing scars from the Europan engagement, Elena watched tactical displays with grim determination. Admiral Chandra had returned to Earth Command while she rejoined her crew, racing ahead of the Purity fleet thanks to High Consort Silani's warning. They're maintaining standard Harmony engagement protocols, Lieutenant Commander Jackson noted. Equidistant spacing, synchronized firing patterns. Just as we expected, Elena confirmed. Deploy countermeasures as planned. Earth's defense fleet, 6 vessels including the Daedalus, implemented the strategy Wei and Elena had developed based on their Harmony research. Rather than forming a conventional defensive line, the human ships scattered in seemingly random patterns, each following trajectories calculated to appear chaotic, while actually positioning them for coordinated strikes. The Purity fleet's response was immediate. Their perfect formation wavered as targeting algorithms struggled to prioritize the unpredictable human movements. Operation Thunderstorm, Phase 1, Elena ordered. 4 Earth vessels simultaneously launched specialized munitions, not at the Purity ships, but into carefully calculated points in space between them. The projectiles detonated, creating expanding clouds of metallic debris and electromagnetic interference. On the Purity vessels, sensor arrays designed for mathematical precision suddenly received corrupted data. Their formation destabilized further as individual captains received conflicting tactical assessments. They're recalibrating, Wei reported from his station. Adjusting to pattern recognition recovery protocols. Execute Phase 2 before they can adapt, Elena commanded. The human fleet accelerated through the debris fields they had created, a maneuver the Harmony would consider irrational due to the risk of collision damage. Protected by their physical armor, Earth's ships emerged in attack positions the Purity vessels hadn't anticipated. The Daedalus led the assault, targeting the Purity flagship with its hybrid weapon systems. Railed guns punched through shields calibrated against energy weapons, creating breach points for focused particle beams to exploit. A massive impact rocked the Daedalus as the Purity flagship returned fire, its weapons suddenly concentrated on the greatest tactical threat. Engineering section hit, Chief Engineer Patel reported, her voice steady despite the alarms blaring around her. Primary power conduits severed, switching to redundant systems. In the engineering bay, chaos reigned as coolant leaked from ruptured pipes and electrical fires erupted across control panels. Engineer Maya Okafor sealed her pressure suit and pushed through the superheated gas filling the compartment. Reaching the manual override junction, she began the dangerous process of rerouting power through backup conduits. Engineering to bridge, Maya reported, her breath fogging her helmet as temperature warnings flashed across her HUD. Attempting to restore weapons power. Need 3 minutes. We don't have 3 minutes, Okafor, Elena responded. Then I'll do it in two, Commander. On the view screens throughout the Harmony Council chambers, officials watched in horrified fascination as the battle unfolded. What disturbed them most wasn't the humans' tactical choices, but the sight of crew members like Maya working in depressurized compartments, manually repairing critical systems during active combat. They're inside the damaged sections, one counselor noted with disbelief. Their crew functions within failed containment areas. High Consul Silani's colors pulsed thoughtfully. They don't surrender to entropy. They contest it, even at the individual level. As the battle reached its climax, the Purity formation finally collapsed completely. Their precisely calculated attack plan had degraded into individual vessels attempting to adapt to human unpredictability, exactly as Elena had predicted. Their coordination is breaking down, Wei announced. They're shifting to independent targeting priorities. Elena allowed herself a small smile. That's their weakness. They haven't trained for autonomous decision-making. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All vessels, execute Operation Thunderstorm. Final phase. Earth's warships converged in an asymmetric pattern that no simulation could have predicted, overwhelming the isolated Purity vessels one by one. Professor Telex's presentation reached its conclusion. Holographic displays showing comparative neural scans of human and Harmony brains. The council chamber remained silent as the implications settled over the assembled representatives. The evidence is conclusive, Telex stated, his crystalline form refracting light as he gestured. Humans aren't destroyers. They're what we might have become had our evolutionary paths included similar selection pressures. Admiral Chorus, his scales now a thoughtful blue-green, addressed the council. The Purity directive was wrong. Their attack on Earth demonstrated precisely what they feared, that humans fight differently, but failed to recognize why that difference exists. Elena and her officers sat in a designated observation area, still wearing their formal uniforms from 3 days of testimony. Wei leaned closer to her. They're actually listening now, he whispered. The council's deliberations shifted to practical matters. High Consul Silani's colors pulsed with authoritative patterns as she addressed the chamber. The question before us isn't whether humans belong in the galactic community. They have proven their right to exist as they are. The question is how we integrate different evolutionary approaches without compromising either. The debate continued for hours, with faction leaders proposing various accommodations and restrictions. Finally, a consensus began to emerge around a radical proposal, one that would permanently alter the relationship between humans and the Harmony. As the final vote concluded, Admiral Chandra and Elena were invited to the central chamber. The Harmony Council's premier, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, addressed them directly. For 23,000 years, the Harmony has valued predictability above all else. We engineered ourselves toward mathematical precision and emotional stability. But evolution favors diversity, not uniformity. The recent conflict has revealed a truth we've long denied. Adaptation requires the capacity for controlled chaos. Elena exchanged glances with Admiral Chandra, surprised by the philosophical turn. The premier continued, humans will join the Harmony as full members, with special protocols acknowledging your different approach to technology and warfare. In exchange, human engineers will help redesign our defensive systems with the redundancies and adaptability we've sacrificed. And your people will accept this? Admiral Chandra asked. High Consul Silani's colors formed complex patterns of affirmation. Evolution isn't merely biological, Admiral. It's cultural. The battle footage from Earth has already begun changing perspectives. Many now see value in controlled unpredictability, what you call thinking outside the box. As the formal treaty signing concluded, Admiral Chorus approached Elena. His scales now displayed patterns she hadn't seen before, a subtle mixture of colors that her translator interpreted as respectful apprehension. Commander Reyes, he began, mandibles clicking nervously. I have a request that may seem unusual. Several of our military cadets have expressed interest in human tactical training, learning your approach to unpredictable situations and system redundancies. Elena raised an eyebrow. You want human instructors at your military academy. The younger generation is more adaptable than mine, Chorus admitted. They see potential in selective integration of human approaches, not to become human, but to expand harmony capabilities. Elena smiled. We'll arrange an exchange program. Some of your officers should train on Earth ships as well. Chorus's scales flashed with alarm. That would be quite challenging for most of us. Growth usually is, Admiral. Later, as the Daedalus prepared for departure, Elena watched from the observation deck as human and harmony engineers already began collaborative work on a new generation of hybrid vessel designs. Wei joined her, datapad in hand. The Council approved our proposal for joint research into neutral zone defense systems, he reported. They're calling it the Adaptive Harmony Initiative. Apparently, even their naming conventions are becoming less predictable. Elena nodded, watching the human engineer patiently explaining manual override systems to fascinated harmony counterparts. You know what's ironic? She mused. They were afraid we were like the ancient destroyers, but the difference is fundamental. The destroyers used chaos to conquer. We use it to survive. And now to connect, Wei added. Different paths. Same destination, Elena finished, turning toward the stars where human and harmony ships now flew together, each learning from the other's evolutionary journey.